Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer Perez and my workplace design was based off of the headquarters for General Mills. So when we started this project, we began by understanding different workplaces and doing some case studies to see what they were doing and what we could implement into our own design. So in general, what I gained from most of the workplace studies that I did was that well-being is the most important thing, because without well-being, there is no creativity that's going to come from the employees, no collaboration, or any productivity. So once we got through all the case studies and understanding what workplace is, we began to analyze the site. So the site that we have this semester is actually in Blue Lagoon Drive, right by the airport, and the area is primarily headquarters, so there's a larger amount of white-collar jobs, as you can see here. So the building itself has one entire side that is curtain walls, and that creates a more public aspect on that side of the building versus the side that's a little bit more enclosed or private. And this also, of course, affects the daylight amount that comes into the space. So when understanding the building, it's important to understand the sunlight, both for glare and for the positive effects of sunlight and nature. Also the noise, because it's right next to the airport, it's important to have materials that are going to absorb sound. And the structural aspect. The building has a set of columns and beams that cannot be touched, so it's important to understand where those are and work with them. So once we had this, the site analysis done, we went into the client analysis. So like I mentioned, my company was General Mills. So they were actually founded in 1856, and they started as a flour mill. They weren't initially the company they are today, which owns 70 plus brands. You can see here some of the, just a couple that you're going to recognize, but really a lot of things in the grocery store are sold by them. So the initial company started during the Industrial Revolution. It was very factory-based, and you'll see that aesthetic in the design. So Betty Crocker is actually one of their most famous brands, and it was a surprise to me, but Betty Crocker is actually not a real person. It's somebody that the company made up to answer customer questions and things like that. And actually all of their products and everything that they release is tested in something called the Betty Crocker Kitchen. It's kind of like their lab where they come out with new recipes, so that will also be in the design. So the company recently did kind of a 360 on their views. They got called out for not being very sustainable, and I mean it makes sense because they started an industrial revolution. But because of that, in the past couple of years, they've found new ways to get sustainably sourced ingredients and found new innovative ways to farm their ingredients and everything like that. So they've kind of been turning around and becoming a lot more sustainable, and I want to make sure that that's prominent in their design. So once we were through with understanding who the client was, we went into program definition. So this is just a quick overview of adjacency of what I wanted to group together. So the first floor is going to become a more public floor for the departments that need a little more interaction or the collaborative spaces. And then the second floor will be more private for executives, more focus-based departments. So once we went through with that, we are now in the schematic design period. So the goals. The goal of this entire project is to make it feel kind of like a history-based, give it a little bit of the history of the company and have that industrial feel, while also mixing in their new goals of being very sustainable and bringing in the environment and nature into the space. It's also very important to have that Betty Crocker kitchen that the company is so well known for. And like I mentioned earlier, to split the space into more public on the bottom and more private on the top. So here are some brand qualities. Like I mentioned, the company started off as very industrial, factory-based during the Industrial Revolution. They've always been very family-based, gearing towards families, grocery stores, feeding your family. And they've now moved into the more sustainable side. Here you can see a picture of one of their labs where they're developing new farming techniques. So my concept. So like I mentioned, the concept is going to be having a contrast, but also fusing together industrial design and natural design. So it's kind of taking inspiration from old overgrown factories and how those two can seamlessly merge. The picture on top actually is showing the General Mills initial factory that used to be the flour mill and how they've added on this very modern and clean addition. So the company's already working towards fusing these two things together. Here's my concept model. There's a small sketch of my initial idea. The bigger picture is the actual model, and the smaller picture is a sneak peek of what the design looks like. So as you can see, it's a fusion between the biophilia, their what they're known for, which is growing food and providing food for families, and their initial history as starting as a factory. So here's a quick materials board just to give an idea of what you're going to be seeing. So there's going to be a lot of natural woods, a lot of brick. This is not actual concrete just because it wouldn't be very sustainable, but it is porcelain intended to look like concrete. And then different kinds of leathers and black metal hardware to bring in that industrial feel. And then of course the plants would be everywhere to bring in that biophilic and natural feeling. So then we are going to get into space planning. Here is the first floor, or actually the second floor, but the first floor in our scope. As you can see, when you walk in, you have the lobby to your side, and on the other side, you're going to have a cafe, so the most public thing. People can stop in and have a snack or breakfast or anything like that. Then they would walk through an entire area of collaboration. And then the other three corners are going to have three departments, so IT, marketing, and sales. And then the corner closest to the lobby, right at the front, once you reach all the way around, is actually human resources, just so that they're close to the lobby and anybody who's getting hired or anything like that can quickly walk there. If you look all the way in the top corner, there's also a gym, or not really a gym, but more like a yoga studio and a sleep pod room just for rejuvenation and for the employees to be able to restore while they're there. Again, bringing back that wellness. So here's the third floor. The entire third floor circulates around this circular room, which is actually the Betty Crocker kitchen. And because around it is open to below, you can actually see this from all points of the design, making it central. And then on each wing, there's different things. The bottom corner is the lobby. The top corner along the curtain wall is the executive offices. And then the biggest platform has the more focus-based departments. Here's the second floor RCP. So all along the ceiling, there's going to be wooden planter boxes that are going to be intersecting at 45 degrees under the bridges, connecting the platforms. And those will be filled with plants overgrowing, creating a more interesting ceiling. And then the third floor is a little bit more simple just because it's very strictly focused work and a little bit more serious work. And it's just going to be some LED surface mount lights onto some dropped ceilings just to not give such a high tunnel effect from the 16-foot ceilings the building originally has. And here we are getting into the first rendering. So this is what the lobby looks like. As you can see, there's a green wall and their big logo on the side. Oh, sorry, I think I skipped one. Here we go. So this is the park, and I created an indoor park just to give that feeling of being outside indoors, and it also gives the ability to have a feature wall in the back, maybe with their products and how they've changed throughout the years, or they can switch that out and display different things as they go. Here's the cafe, where people can go and have some healthy snacks. Here's the collaboration area on the second floor. So you can see there's many options. They have circular kind of like conference tables. There's bar stools in the back. There's some lounge seating and also some social stairs. Here's the IT department. So you can kind of see it on the side here. There's like a little window where people would be able to come up and turn in their computers or have them be fixed to the computer maintenance people. The middle is just the regular IT employees, and then the manager's office off to the other side. Here's the marketing department. You have, of course, more sit-to-stand desks, manager's office, photo studio, and then a printing and collating area that will service the entire first floor. Here's the sales department. Again, there's also a small privacy booth there in case anyone else needs to go and speak on the phone. There's a couple more throughout the first floor if you look in the floor plan. Okay, and then now we're on the third floor, or on the second floor of our scope. This is the smaller lobby upstairs. Here is the conference room right off of the smaller lobby. This would be for the more focus-based departments in case they need to have a more private meeting or anything like that, or even for the executives. This is the executive lobby, so if you were to cross that central bridge and go over to the side, this is what it would look like. There'd be a receptionist there, and then doors with all of the executives' names. And this is the inside of the office. Here's the Betty Crocker kitchen. So as you can see, it's all glass and it's centralized, so you would be able to see that from anywhere. And just inside, it's flexible so that everything can move depending on what they need, but there's anything that you would need to cook and make different kinds of recipes. And then finally, here are some desks on the more focus-based side of the platform, with some privacy booths in case people need to go in there, talk on the phone, or even for hoteling. You can see the manager's office. There's a kitchenette in the back, break room, and there's one of those on this floor and one on the one below as well. And then just different types of sit-to-stand arrangements. So that was my General Mills design. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.